A new report commissioned by mining company Glencore into levels of lead pollution at Mount Isa is urging residents to be tested. Our reporter Donna Field has just returned from the town. Donna, you had exclusive access to the report. What did it find?
Karina, Mount Isa residents are living in the shadow of one of the country's biggest mining operations, and the report confirms Glencore's mine is a source of lead pollution. And it's the smallest people, children, who are most vulnerable to the effects of the heavy metal. But there is a way to stay low risk, and that requires a diligent approach. It's from this vantage point scientific officers decide whether pollution coming from the mine is too dangerous and operations are shut down. It's the only time the mine stops.
They'll find the triggers that they need to look for to then start winding back operations so that we don't get a hard hit in town.
Mount Isa has one of the most comprehensive air monitoring systems in Australia for good reason. A key part of its operations involves lead, a heavy metal that's toxic and impairs development in children.
Another area where you've got such a large industrialised complex on the doorstep of a town of around 24,000.
The mining operation is vast, involving open cut, underground and smelting.
And our focus here is making sure that that interaction doesn't result in any harm to the community.
The University of Queensland's study has found mine emissions can travel for kilometres and present a potentially significant pathway for lead into people. A key finding is that it's ingestion, not inhalation of lead, that poses the greatest risk. And those most vulnerable are small children who put their hands in their mouths after being outside or even in their own homes. Teacher Olivia Davis lives just about as close to the mine as you can get.
We think Mount Isa is a great community to grow up in, especially with the small children that we have.
There is an ability to definitely manage the lead exposure.
Mrs Davis says her children are thriving, and she follows the advice given to the Mount Isa community, wet wiping her house, having good hygiene and nutrition, and limiting outside play.
We, I guess, don't know that we're fine because we haven't done any lead level testing with either of the kids. Summer finds it too invasive and he's a bit little.
A survey of the city's young 9 years ago found more than 10% had concerning blood lead levels. Since then, the mine has reduced emissions markedly. It also pays for people to have their children tested for lead, but very few do. Local member Robbie Carter heads an alliance advising the community about the issue, but even he has never been tested. It's hoped a new, less invasive test will see more people checked.
We're looking at capillary testing now to try and trap those kids basically into getting that data because we're so eager to get that data.
The new report also urges Glencore to do more to minimise dust containing heavy metals.
I think the concept of continuous improvement means we can always do better. However, our concept here is always going to be around risk mitigation given that we're in such close proximity to that community.
For almost a century, Mount Isa's vast mineral deposits have been the lifeblood of the region. But it's only now that there's recognition that comes at a cost that must be managed.
And Donna, what's been the government's response to the study?
Well, the government says there is free and well-publicised blood lead testing available, and it hopes that that new pinprick finger test will see more children screened. It says the aim is to offer it at the same time as immunisations, and that's much like other mining communities like Broken Hill. Environmental scientist Mark Taylor has long argued for such a testing regime, says it's the only way you'll get a true picture about the extent of lead. But of course, it relies on parents.
In a community which is predominantly a mining community where there's one primary source of income, who wants to really ask the question, have I chosen to live in a place that is causing adverse outcomes for the lifetime of my child? You don't want to ask that question because you don't really want to know the answer.
And following the report's release today, Glencore has committed a further $100,000 to blood lead testing.
Donna Field reporting there.